extraction, production, and disposal all happens outside of our field of vision. So in the US, we have more stuff than ever before.
But I'm sure she's going to tell us that this is a downside.
But polls show that our national happiness is actually declining. Our national happiness peaked in the 1950s, the same time that this consumption mania exploded. Interesting coincidence.
First of all, happiness is a personal responsibility. Second of all, a coincidence doesn't show any cause whatsoever. But if she wants to play the correlation game, we can play it too. The happiness rate started to decrease at the same time that the environmentalist movement started to get a foothold in our culture, and people started to feel ashamed at our standard of living and felt that we were destroying the earth. In fact, it was reported that this video made a 9-year-old feel that his Legos would destroy the planet. This video makes people unhappy.
I think I know why. We have more stuff, but we have less time for the things that really make us happy. Friends, family, leisure time. We're working harder than ever. Some analysts say we have less leisure time than any time since feudal society.
Some analysts are wrong. It turns out that people underestimate their free time when they self-report. Actual data from sociologists is much, much different. When sociologists look at the actual results from people taking diaries of their free time, they find out that people have more free time now than they have in the last 50 years.
And do you know what the two main activities are that we do with the scant leisure time we have? Watch TV and shop.
As opposed to breaking our backs, plowing the field, and starving to death.
In the US, we spend 3 to 4 times as many hours shopping as our counterparts in Europe do.
I hope so. We're a wealthier nation.
So we're in this ridiculous situation where we go to work, maybe 2 jobs even, and we come home and we're exhausted, so we plop down on our new couch and watch TV, and the commercials tell us you suck, so you gotta go to the mall to buy something to feel better, and then you gotta go to work more to pay for the stuff you just bought, so you come home and you're more tired, so you sit down and you watch more TV, and it tells you to go to the mall again, and we're on this crazy work, watch, spend treadmill, and we could just stop.
Yes, we buy goods that increase our standard of living, and we work in order to buy those goods. And when we have time, we like to watch television because it's extremely entertaining. And yes, the television tells us what other goods can increase our standard of living, and we do work for those goods for a living.
So in the end, what happens to all the stuff we buy anyway? At this rate of consumption, it can't fit into our houses, even though the average house size has doubled in this country since the 1970s.
She acts as if it's a bad thing that our house size doubled.
It all goes out in the garbage, and that brings us to disposal. This is the part of the materials economy we all know the most because we have to haul the junk out to the curb ourselves. Each of us in the United States makes 4.5 pounds of garbage a day. That's twice what we each made 30 years ago. All of this garbage either gets dumped in a landfill, which is just a big hole in the ground, or if you're really unlucky, first it's burned in an incinerator and then dumped in the landfill. Either way, they both pollute the air, land, water, and don't forget, change the climate.
Climate change would need another video series to address, but we're not running out of landfill space, and our compacting technology is increasing every day.
Incineration is really bad. Remember those toxics back in the production stage? Well, burning the garbage releases the toxics up into the air. Even worse, it makes new super toxics, like dioxin.
Remember earlier when I talked about the definitions of toxic, hazard, and risk? You can't say something is toxic unless you know the quantity.
Dioxin is the most toxic man-made substance known to science, and incinerators are the #1 source of dioxin.
So what? You need to look at the risk, and a large hazard does not equal a large risk. If you don't live right next to the incinerator, there is a very low risk of getting harmed from dioxin.
That means that we could stop the #1 source of the most toxic man-made substance known just by stopping burning the trash. We could stop it today. Now, some companies don't want to deal with building landfills and incinerators here, so they just export the disposal too.
Yeah, and New York City exports its disposal to New Jersey.
What about recycling? Does recycling help? Yes, recycling helps. Recycling reduces the garbage at this end, and it reduces the pressure to mine and harvest new stuff at this end. Yes, 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 we should all recycle.
Recycling is wonderful, but so long as it's voluntary, and the greatest recycler of all time was John D. Rockefeller, who figured out how to take the waste of crude oil and make a profit out of it. At one time, in fact, gasoline used to be a waste product of crude oil, but John D. Rockefeller made gasoline into a sellable product. He did the same thing with tar that could be used for roofing, and even Vaseline and many, many other products through voluntary recycling. In fact, most people buy recycled homes. We just don't call it that. It's all about costs and trade-offs.
But recycling is not enough. Recycling will never be enough.
Recycling will never be enough?
For a couple reasons. First, the waste coming out of our houses is just the tip of the iceberg. For every one garbage can of waste you put out on the curb, 70 garbage cans of waste were made upstream just to make the junk in that one garbage can you put out on the curb. So even if we could recycle 100% of the waste coming out of our households, it doesn't get to the core of the problems. Also, much of the garbage can't be recycled, either because it contains too many toxics or it's designed not to be recyclable in the first place. Like those juice packs, where they have layers of metal and paper and plastic all smushed together, you can never separate those for true recycling.
First of all, juice packs were a phenomenal invention to avoid kids spreading germs and getting sick. And you catch that she used the phrase true recycling? What's true recycling? Okay, if we go to footnote 79, we can see what true recycling actually means. She says, I differentiate between true recycling, which achieves a circular closed-loop production process, example, a bottle into a bottle into a bottle, and downcycling, which reprocesses a material into a lower-grade material and a secondary product. For example, a plastic jug into carpet backing. True recycling seeks to eliminate the natural resource input and the waste output of making the product. Okay, so the juice boxes, I guess, can be recycled into other products, but they can't be recycled into other juice boxes. But this begs the question, who the heck cares? We're not going to fill up the planet with juice boxes, and why are we declaring a war on little kids drinking juice in school when it reduces germs? This is beyond insanity.
So you see, it is a system in crisis. All along the way, we are bumping up against limits. From changing climate to declining happiness, it's just not working. But the good thing about such an all-pervasive problem is that there are so many points of intervention. There are people working here on saving forests, and here on clean production, people working on labor rights and fair trade and conscious consuming and blocking landfills and incinerators, and very importantly, on taking back our government so that it really is by the people and for the people. All of this work is critically important, but things are really going to start moving when we see the connections, when we see the big picture. When people along the system get united, we can reclaim and transform this linear system into something new, a system that doesn't waste resources or people. Because what we really need to chuck is that old school throwaway mindset. There's a new school of thinking on this stuff, and it's based on sustainability and equity, green chemistry, zero waste, closed-loop production, renewable energy, local living economies. It's already happening. Now, some say it's unrealistic, idealistic that it can't happen, but I say the ones who are unrealistic are those that want to continue with the old path. That's dreaming. Remember, that old way didn't just happen. It's not like gravity that we've just got to live with. People created it, and we're people too. So let's create something new.
Get this video out of our schools. Email this critique to your friends and your family. It's not just propaganda, it is factually wrong, and there should be no debate in any classroom when the facts are wrong. Thank you.